Hey gamers, welcome to Ongaku Concept, your weekly dose of video game music theory. I'm going to start this episode off with a disclaimer. I'm not going to talk a lot about music theory today. Instead, I wanted to talk about the integration of music and attention to detail in the Legend of Zelda series, specifically in the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I've been playing Majora's Mask for the first time the past few weeks, and it's pretty incredible. I love how it ties the gameplay and the lore together to make basic things like hints a part of the story and a part of the world. One of the many ways that it does this is through music. For those of you unfamiliar with the game, Link has an ocarina called the Ocarina of Time, which allows him to do all kinds of amazing things, such as warp from one location to another, or even travel back in time. He does this by playing specific songs. You, as the player, learn these songs throughout the game and input the notes on your controller. The songs are notated on a musical staff with the controls showing up as notes. So this got me wondering, were these notes accurate? Did the notes on screen correspond with actual real-life notation? So I did some research. Every song in-game is played with a combination of 5 notes. You have D, F, A, B, and another D an octave higher. Both the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask use a 4-line staff where these notes are placed. This in itself is a little bit unusual because in modern music we have a 5-line staff, but it actually makes a lot of sense the more you think about it, which I'm going to get to in just a second. So first things first, how do we read it? We need a reference point, and it's not the same as a normal 5-line staff because we don't know which of these lines has been removed if you just look at the lines. We need a reference point, and that is where the clef comes in. A clef is a symbol at the beginning of a staff that tells you what range of notes the staff occupies. What you see here is called a treble clef. It's generally used for higher range instruments such as the ocarina. Believe it or not, the treble clef is actually a very ornate uppercase letter G. The tip of the clef curls around a specific line on the staff, and that tells us that any note on this line is a G. From this, we can find every other note on the staff. Now we know where D, F, A, B, and D are, and you can see why a 4-line staff was used. The top line isn't even used at all in the notes that you can play, so why include it? This makes reading the staff easier, and it also might be a reference to early medieval music that was actually written on a 4-line staff. So now that we know where the notes are, let's compare them to one of the in-game songs to see if the placement of the notes is correct. Comparing them with the original N64 graphics shows us that they're kinda close. The placement is nearly there, but the notes are kinda big, and they're overlapping with things. However, looking at the 3DS ports of these games, these note sizes have been corrected, and we can see that they do indeed line up with actual notation. So now you might be wondering, why 5 notes? And why these notes in particular? Link obviously plays more than these 5 notes in the cutscenes. So first of all, it makes sense with the N64's controller layout, so you don't need to do anything crazy, and it doesn't interrupt the pacing of the game. And secondly, it's really easy to pick up on, so again, it doesn't break the flow of the gameplay and you can get on with it. These 5 notes exist in several keys, which allowed Koji Kondo to create a multitude of different songs using just these 5 notes alone. Most of them are in the key of C major, but a lot of them are in the key of D minor, using the B natural as the Dorian note. If you have no idea what that means, I actually wrote a blog post detailing extensively how modes work, and the Dorian mode in particular. It's up on Video Game Music Academy, and I'll be posting a link to it in the description if you want to find out more about that. Still, we only have these 5 notes to work with, or so I thought. But when I was talking to one of my friends about the game, he told me that if I held down the D-pad, the up or down arrows on the D-pad or on the control stick, I could get extra notes. And I tried it, and holding down the control stick allows you to get a whole tone above whatever note you're playing, or holding down allows you to get a whole tone below the note that you're playing. In addition, using the D-pad will allow you to get a semitone above or below the note that you're playing. And using them together, it's kind of hard, but using them together can get you an entire minor third. So let me try and do this. The lowest note that you can play is a B, and then the highest note that you can play is an F. and you can play every single notes, including sharps and flats, in between these. So you have the entire chromatic range from B to an F in the next octave. So this got me wondering, if Nintendo had the presence of mind and the attention to detail to make these notes on the staff correspond to real-life music notation, is Link's ocarina based on a real-life ocarina in terms of its range? So I did some more research. There are many, many types of ocarinas. The ocarina is an extremely old instrument that's been used in all kinds of different cultures, and everybody's developed it differently. Many ocarinas are made to stay inside of the key that it's in. However, there is an ocarina called the transverse ocarina. It's usually found in 10, 11, or 12 hole varieties, and it lets you play chromatically, meaning that you can play every single note, sharps and flats included, in its range. It's one of the most popular styles of ocarina, and visually it looks like the one that Link plays in the game. A 10-hole transverse ocarina in C has the exact same range as the notes that you can play in-game. As a side note, you might remember that the fairy ocarina that Link gets earlier in Ocarina of Time has 7 holes. This ocarina actually has a wider range than the 10-hole ocarina. It goes a couple of notes lower than the 10-hole ocarina, but otherwise it's the exact same range and it plays chromatically just as well. So with these extra notes, you can actually play every single song just like in the cutscenes, except for 2. Zelda's Lullaby and the Sun's Song. Both of these songs have notes that are just a little bit out of the range, a little bit too high. Zelda's Lullaby has a high G and a high A, and the Sun's Song has a high G. Zelda's Lullaby gets a pass for having been written before Ocarina of Time was a thing, but I have no explanation about the Sun's Song. It's a little bit disappointing because up to this point everything had been consistent. Still, I think it's fascinating that all this detail was put into it, even though the ability to use these extra notes was never capitalized on in-game. So those were my findings. Maybe I'm weird. I may be the only person who's interested in this kind of stuff, but I guess if you made it all the way to the end of this video, maybe you are too. I don't know, let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comments or email me at ongakuconcept@gmail.com. If you want to discuss this topic or video game music theory in general, I would suggest joining the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/ongakuconceptvgm. Also, shout out to Can of Nothing. He's one of my best friends and a wonderful musician. He told me a lot about the Zelda series and he helped me research all of this information. Also, a special shout out to David Ramos. He is an amazing ocarinist and he gave me a lot of really useful info about how ocarinas work in general. So big shout out to him as well. There'll be links to both of their stuff at the end of in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.